Welcome everyone. Welcome to the day one for the Jan 20th basic plus advanced QTP training. Thank you for being here. And so this is a quick overview of what we will do today. And then we will get started. I hope at the moment you all can hear me okay. So there are two ways for you to interact with me while the session is going on. One is you can use the chat feature built into your GoToMeeting or GoToTraining window that you see. The other is you can raise your hand, at which time I will give a pause at a logical point and take your questions. All right. So the essence of the whole training, what is going to be covered and what you're going to really learn out of it is all there in the website. I'm going to start very quickly with giving you the overview of it. And then we will go straight away into our today's session. All right, team. So what we're doing here is the first thing that you might want to watch is this 8 minutes YouTube video, which will give you an overview about the training. Additionally, you can also see the training document and the FAQ document out here. This will also give you additional details about the entire training program. All right, team. And what will be interesting for you to note is that this training overview document has different details about the training program and so on, and all the topics that will be covered. Just to let you know, there will be a lot of live classes, almost about 20 odd live classes. And each of these classes, we will do a lot of very specific work in it. Apart from these live classes, each of you will also be given an access to a set of pre-recorded sessions that will walk you through a lot of information about QTP. So together, there will be about 35 plus sessions, and we will try and cover all of them in about 5 to 6 weeks. All right, team. So at this point, I just want to make a quick check to see if everyone is able to hear me fine and see the screen, whatever I do on the system. I'm also writing the same on the chat window. All right, cool. So team, here is what we're going to start with. All right. I will not give a quick overview about anything else because most of everything else is what you see will be available on the website. So today we'll go straight into trying to understand how QTP as a tool works, what it does, and how will we try and take our first baby steps towards learning this tool. All right, team. So once each of you have your tool installed, the trial or the license version, I will be sending the download instructions of how to do it after day 2. You can download your tool during the weekend. Once you have the tool installed, you will see an icon on your desktop, or you can go from your start and you'll see QTP out here. All right. So this is the tool that we will work with throughout the entire session. I don't use any specific PowerPoints, documentation or anything. Everything that we will do will be on the tool itself. Emphasis is going to be predominantly around VB scripting and how we do project work in real time. All right. So we will do a lot of practice and exposure towards frameworks, descriptive programming, advanced features, but more with an intent of how do we design, build, and maintain all of these things as we go along. All right. QTP is one of the most popular test automation tools in the market. It is a product of HP, and you would see that a lot of fear towards learning this tool has been probably around the VB scripting, which is the programming language behind it, or it could be due to that there are advanced frameworks and what they might ask you in interview. We will focus towards making this whole training program to ensure these things are met, but at the same time, your practice is very important. All right, team. So I will do everything on the tool. I wish that each one of you will be able to practice along with us as the classes happen. All right. So here is what I'm going to do for the first day's session. All right, team. Let me give you a quick overview of an application that I wish to take as an example and show you how QTP we can try and automate. So what I'm trying to tell you is that QTP is a test automation tool, right? So I'll quickly use notepad as a backdrop, take a pen out here and draw you. So there are two things that we will be doing. Number one is called automation and then testing. All right, team. And QTP is your automation testing tool. So we will focus a lot of our time in trying to understand how do we use this tool to automate any user or manual process. Whatever we do manually to test an application, how can we automate it? At that point, once we master this art of automation, then we move into now how can we test an application and find defects with it. All right, so that's going to be approach that we will take. Now to do that, I will take help of a lot of web-based applications, different kind of applications, and try and give you a flavor of how things are going to be done. All right. So let me give you a quick walkthrough of. All right, team, you lost the audio. Just give me a second. Can you all hear me now? Team, can you all hear me now? All right, perfect. So lost the audio for a second due to some settings out there. So what I was telling you is automation and testing. We'll focus on automation a lot, and then we will move into the testing part towards the later part of the class. So to automate, I will take the help of different types of web-based applications with different complexities, different functionalities, and so on. So what is it that the market expects you to do as QTP test automation engineers? So let's take a step back and see what do we do as manual test engineers, and then try and see how do we automate this process using QTP. All right, team. So to do that, let's start with a simple application called chasestudentloans.com. And I'm going to take access to applications which each of you will be able to do it from your end as well. Now, the whole idea is to first master the functionality of this application or the module that you will work on. All right. So what does that mean? That means that we will have to know exactly how is this application supposed to function. Is supposed to do A, B, C, D, E, F. Then we can test and see, is it doing A correctly, is it doing B correctly, C correctly, and so on. So those steps of your functionality are very important. Sorry about that. So let me walk you through a simple functionality within Chase Student Loan. This is the entire application. I'll take a simple function and show you what we try and do manually. So within chasestudentloans.com, there's something called as a budget calculator. Can you see that out here? I'm going to click on this link. Remember, team, I'm not doing anything with QTP. I'm just talking about manual users at the moment. All right. The users who come in here are primarily students who are trying to see what kind of a loan they require. And to do this, there is a feature within Chase Student Loans, and that's called as budget calculator. What this budget calculator does is it gives the ability for the users who are using this tool to enter things like how much do they spend in a month for tuition, how much do they spend on, let's say, book supplies, what's their room or boarding fees, and so on, and different types of expenses on one side. Later, they can also enter what kind of an income they get if they're, let's say, working on campus or off campus. Do they have any scholarships in place that give them funds, and so on. So let's say we enter some of this information and see what kind of a data we will come up with. I'm going to reduce this job income to a little more lesser to start with. And after this, if I click on the button calculate, this application is supposed to do two things. Number one, actually three things. Add all the expenses and put them out here. Number two, add all the incomes and put them out here. Number three is to subtract your income from your expenses and say exactly what kind of a loan you'll require. All right. So that's the functionality of the application that I'm trying to explain. Now, why did I do that? I did this so that now how can we teach a tool which can automate this process. All right, now we've learned this, but before we go into QTP, this is what I would love to do every time, is to write these steps in some place. Could be a notepad, could be a Word document or an Excel. I use an Excel because it's a little more structured for me. So I created this simple Excel and I've written these steps already. And some of this, what I'm saying is called a plan. Okay. Is it a formal test plan like you would see as manual testers? No. But this is a high level plan as to what is it that we wish to do. So what is the need to test web-based chasestudentloans.com? The functionality for which we're going to test is the simple budget calculator, and this is a web-based application. Okay, that's my header, a simple header. You can have more complex header saying who's going to test, what's the team, what version is it, when are we planning to start this test, what resources are we going to use, and so on. But this is a high level start. Next, I have written all the steps that I mentioned to you to test this application. Now, what do I mean by testing this application? The steps that you and I observed when I showed you that functionality should be in such a well documented format so that if we send the steps to anyone across in our team at a workplace, they are able to easily understand and replicate exactly that we do. So that documentation is very, very important, team. We as test engineers, be it automation or manual, are recognized not for the ability just to create, detect and report bugs, but also that we document the functionality, what is expected and what is it that we see very well. That is very important for what we do. Okay, let's not worry about this automating QTP for now. We'll come to that later. So what are the steps? I said let's open IE and go to the URL. So we know the URL, right? Click on budget calculator link. Then enter some expenses, enter some earnings, click calculate button, get the results, compare the result, close IE. Correct? So this is what we are doing manually. Now if I send this Excel sheet to anyone else within our team or our group at our workplace, will they be able to understand this and replicate this manually? Yes, right? So I've put this here. Manually, do we understand what to do if this is shown to us? Yes. Click on budget calculator link. Yes. Which link? Budget calc link. Right? Enter some expenses. Yes. But what are the expenses? In which expenses should we enter which amount? So that is important. Then I'm saying enter some earnings. Same thing. Yes, we understand how to enter earnings, but we don't know as to what those earnings are. Click on calculate button. It is probably easy. To get the results, it's probably easy. Compare the results, it's probably easy. And close IE. Right? So I am saying that this column is now saying, do we understand these steps manually? All right. Now that this is done, this whole set of steps might have to be repeated multiple number of times for different sets of data. Why do I need to repeat the steps for different sets of data? If I think that whatever we did for a given set of data is working, can I make sure and say that this calculate is working perfectly, everything is right with it? Not necessarily. Why? It might be working for these fields, but what if I enter a food out here? Okay, and then I hit calculate and it fails. So this application, it is very important to test it based on your data that you provide. So we need to create different types of data to be able to do it. All this we are talking manual testing, just manual simple testing as users. So I created another sheet where I'm saying I will hold the data. Okay. Team, everyone can hear me all right? Can everyone hear me okay, team? All right, thank you. I'm not hearing you. Basically, I'm looking at your chat messages. That's the way I'm taking information from you at the moment. So here, I have different sets of data. I have all the expenses in this orange colored columns. I have all the income in this green colored column. And what is the total expenses, total income, then the total loan, and I wrote a column called result. Now these things are not yet calculated. Okay, these things are not yet calculated. We wish to get this from that application and put it here. And if we think that manually this is correct, then we write if it's a pass or a fail. Fair enough, team? So different sets of data. Is this the only set of combination of data? No, not necessarily. You can have hundreds and thousands of combinations of data. Now let's try and see how can we automate it. if I need to automate this application, that means that I need to teach a tool, a system, or an application what to do, how to do. I have to answer a few questions to it. That is how I can teach a tool like QTP to be able to understand, learn what I show, and then it to be able to repeat those same steps again. Alright, so that's what I'm going to put here. And I said to automate, I got to answer a certain set of information to the tool. Why can we understand and why can't the tool understand? Because we can perceive things, we can use our intelligence to think. But a tool can only perform whatever instructions you give to it, and any automated tool, right? So if I say instruction like open IE and go to URL, it says no, I don't know how to do it. How will I go there? What is the URL? Click on budget calculator link. Okay, which is that link? How to click on that link? How can I find this? Enter some expenses. So each of these questions need to get answered, and that's what QTP will try and do. So now let me quickly open Up Qtp by double clicking on this. You may get in the add-in manager thing, and all you need at the moment is a web-based application. So that's the one I checked, and I'm going to say OK. I'm using QTP version 10 team. I would advise you to use either version 10 or a version 11. Version 9.5 or 9.2 will be a little bit of a challenge, primarily because whatever you do in version 10, you cannot take the same files and open them in version 9.5, 9.2, but you can open the same files in version 11. Alright team. Now what you see is the first UI of the tool, the user interface, whatever you see as a overall, the initial starting page. So what kind of a tool is it? What kind of a UI are you seeing? You're seeing a UI just like any other Windows application. You see a menu bar with different sets of features. How we work with each of these features is what we're going to try and learn. Alright? And as we go along, you will learn everything in a very practical manner, team. I will not explain anything in a theoretical manner that this is the thing, this is the thing. No. I will show you a need, and then I'll show you how we can achieve and solve that need using QTP. So what we're going to do is click on this next tab called test. What this does is I have now the ability to automate and then test an application, and each of these things within QTP are called as test. Okay, just like any other application, it has some features and functionalities, things which will help us do certain things better. So each of this functionality has a purpose, has a need, and so on. But primarily what you may see is that this may be the kind of view you will get when you open up this application. When I say similar view, why do I say? Because you can adjust your views, you can have different things that you look at. You can bring up something called as data tables out here and so on, active screen, and various other features. Okay, so don't worry about it. Just make sure that you have your expert view up. That is the most important part of what we will need. This is the place where we will spend 90% of our time in the whole training program. This is the place where we will learn something called as VB scripting. Alright, so now without going any further into explaining what this tool is, let's start to delve into it with our first program and see what we can do. Okay, so what I did is I created this folder called c:/qtp/j20. So all that I'm going to do in this batch, I will put it in this folder, and on a regular basis we'll keep sending across these files back to you for your own review. Alright team, and just to let you know, these sessions are recorded and they'll be hosted online. So if you choose the recording option, you can see the playback for this video again as you wish. Alright team, so now that having said that, how can I repeat these steps and perform the same steps in QTP? So I have written the following steps out here on automating QTP. Let me show you those and come back here and say that this is what is documented. Now what I'm going to do is make sure your browser is closed and start with the first thing. Let's save this test. Before I do anything, I'm just giving it a name to it. What should I name it? I'll name it as chasestudentloans.com, but to make it easier, I'll just say it is CSL. And since we might keep on improving these tests every class, every day, I will give versions to it. So I'll say this is CSL1. Okay. As soon as I save it, you will notice that this gets saved as a folder in here. This looks like a Windows Explorer, in your Windows Explorer, like a simple folder. But if you open it, you'll see a lot of other subfolders and so on. The way you got to open this is from QTP by saying open a test and then select that folder. These are called as your quick test tests. Alright, these are your quick test folders. Team, I might be skipping certain things because I'm not reading out of anything that this is what I got to cover. I go very impromptu with it, but I know that I will try and take baby steps initially. As we progress in the classes, I will speed up the way I present things as we master each and everything. Alright. Now I'm going to start to teach QTP to learn these steps. So how am I going to do that? The first part is I will go to this tab on the menu bar and click on automation. In here, I'm going to click on the record and run settings. Can you see this feature? Once I click here, I have two tabs here, web and Windows application. So out here, I can give an instruction to QTP saying that whenever open the following address when a record or run session begins. So what is a record or run session? I can start the very first feature in QTP called as record, which will start QTP in a learning mode. Whatever I do after that, QTP will try and learn that. Alright. So what I'm going to give instruction to QTP is whenever I click on record, open up this URL. What URL will we work on? chase-student-loans. I hope this is the correct URL. com. Okay. And what is the browser that I want to use to open it? Internet Explorer. That is what we will focus on, IE. There are two other options. You can leave them, but I would suggest just uncheck the last one, close the browser when the test closes. Okay. This record and run settings team will probably be 1 or 2 classes that I'll show you, because after that we will not do something called as record. We will know how to write our code and we will start to write our code. That is the most important thing. Alright, I'm going to say apply and OK. Now the instruction I've given to QTP is I have taught QTP how to open IE and go to URL with that feature. Done. Now what I'm going to do is I will click on record, and immediately after I click on record, you will see that the status will change. QTP has opened IE. And you will see a recording blinking out here, the views changing and so on. So at this point, QTP is ready to learn whatever we do on the application. Alright. So what is the next step that I showed you? I'm going to click on budget calculator. What I would want you to do, team, is as I continue to do these steps, observe what is it that is happening to this expert view out here, what keeps coming out here. Alright. Now let's go and click on budget calculator. As soon as I click budget calculator, QTP has written something here, and this is your VB scripting, and we will master VB scripting before we end the whole training. Now what QTP is basically trying to do, it's learning what is it that I am doing out here. So let's go ahead and enter a tuition out here. So if as I'm entering tuition, do you see anything appearing here? No, but as soon as I hit a tab, you will see another line of code getting entered. And let's go ahead and enter books and supplies. Let's go ahead and enter some food, some clothing. I'm just taking sample. Okay, I'm not really entering data which I want to test, just to see how QTP is recognizing these. Now let's enter some income. So let's say I get job income of 500 and a scholarship of another $500. So now I have finished entering my data. And for each step that I perform on the tool, you see a line of code getting generated. And then what was our next step? Click on calculate. Alright. What is the next step? I want to compare what is here and what is here, and then see the results. Now I'm not doing the comparison, but I'm just going to go ahead and simply close the browser. And now I'm going to stop recording. So the instruction I'm giving to QTP is stop whatever you were doing, stop the recording. Now you've learned whatever you've done. So now let's take a quick peek at what is it that QTP has generated. QTP has generated something called as VB script. Why is this VB script important? It is important for QTP to communicate with us using this programming language. It is as simple as this. We go to a new country team and you got to learn their language, and that country is QTP. Now either we learn exactly the way QTP works or we get a translator in between. This translator knows what we speak, and this translator can communicate back to QTP exactly the same thing. Okay, and it's a two-way street. We got to know and be able to communicate. I'm not able to do this direct communication because I don't know how QTP works in the backend. And this translator is called your VB script. Okay, that's your programming language. Once you understand how you can communicate using these lines of code that you see here, we will take our steps towards mastering to learn the tool. Alright, all this is these first and simplest forms of VB scripting that you see. How does QTP work on the backend? I will come to it in tomorrow's class. But now I have said that, okay, great, we have created this code. So what is the whole intent? The whole intent is when I hit the run, okay, and as soon as you hit the run, there is something called as the results location. We will come to results location where we got to put it at a later point in time when we start to test the application. Till then, we are only going to do the automation, so don't worry about results for now. So I'm going to select the temporary run results folder, all right, and then I'm going to click on OK. As soon as I click on OK, what instruction I've given to QTP is to execute whatever it has learned. QTP now show me and repeat the same steps that I've shown. Did you see something happening in the background? Probably for a quick fraction of a second or a few seconds, that's it. So what we've seen is probably QTP has done exactly what it is supposed to do. Now, but I want to know exactly how it has done each step, or I want QTP to go a little more slower. So that's where our ability comes to change this VB script code that got generated. We have the ability to modify this code. So now what is the instruction that I want to give to QTP? I want to give an instruction for QTP to wait a certain amount of time before it goes to the next step. So for example, after it clicks on the link budget calculator, but how do I know that step 1 is clicking on the link budget calculator? This line 1, that is what it is executing. For that, what I can do is go to the view and click on active screen. Okay. Team, these are the features which I'm teaching you, not necessarily that you will grasp everything at the first go. You may require to practice. It's not you may require, it is you will require to practice on it. What will help you is the first 2 or 3 classes. I will definitely send the videos to everyone so that you can review whatever we're doing. So I'm going to click on this thing called as active screen. Can you see this? View active screen. It is currently not checked, and I'm going to click on that. As soon as I click on that, you would see a simple screen getting populated out here. What is this? This is an active screenshot of that application. Whenever we did a record, QTP not only did it record what step I've performed, but it also recorded a screenshot of what I did. And can you see this highlight? I'm not sure if you're seeing this pink highlight in your GoToMeeting, but this is pointing to the object or the action that whatever we performed, where is it that we did. So this is where we clicked on the budget calculator. That's how QTP is showing that active screen. So if I now, let's say, click anywhere on line 2, it will show me a highlight on this tuition. That's where we entered our first thing. And then books, and then food, then clothing. So each of these things are getting displayed for you. How? Because QTP has generated a screenshot of the application when we did that. Okay. Any empty line of code or a line of code which doesn't have anything will have a empty background, just a very large image of that chemical beakers kind of a thing that you see in your chemical labs. So just that kind of a background. So now I am able to know that, okay, this is the line which clicks on the budget calculator. Okay. So I will say this line clicks on budget calculator. What am I doing? I'm writing the notes against each of the lines. Okay. Here is where we are entering expenses. Just like your notepad or your Word, you can copy paste, do whatever you want. Then I started entering my income. We are entering income here. Okay, so what am I doing? I am changing the code. I am writing my own English to it so that I can understand what it is doing. What is this doing finally? This is clicking on that calculate button. Can you see this? So I will write here saying that clicks on calculate button. So all the steps that we wrote out here are now getting transformed into QTP. Alright. And then finally, this is where I believe we are closing the browser. Perfect. So what did we do? We just modified, wrote our comments into it, our English into it. Now I'm going to click on the save button, which will save the test. But when I wish to save this test, it's giving me expected end of statement. What is this expected end of statement? Different warning information messages doing, and it is also pointing to the line. Where is it pointing to? Line 1. Okay, that's where I wrote one English statement. Then line 4 out here. Okay, another English statement. So wherever I have written that particular English, QTP for some reason is not able to understand. Why? Because it is not a statement that QTP can understand. This is a notes for us. So we need to do something called as comment these statements. These are comments. I don't want QTP to execute them. There is no instruction to QTP. This is for my own preference to understand what code of line is doing what. So I'm going to do a shortcut called Control M or click this icon. What this will do is basically make this code non-executable for QTP. Whenever, so I'm hitting that Control M shortcut for this icon. Whenever I write this piece of code, QTP will have no problem in recognizing this as a comment and just ignore that line. Alright. Now let's try and click on save and see if this gets eliminated. There you go. No more errors coming up when we are saving it. So this is called as a syntax error whenever you get this. That means there is a problem in our communication, and that's a syntax problem. Okay, QTP does not understand what we wrote. That's not the right VB script statement. These are our comments, so we're going to comment them. Now what is it that I was trying to explain? This test recorded perfectly, but when I tried to run it, it probably ran too fast. So I want QTP to wait a certain amount of time before it goes forward. So now I will say wait for. What does this do, or wait to? This is a VB script statement which is giving an instruction to QTP to wait on step 10 for specific amount of time before it moves on to the next step. How do you know this? You know this by learning it, practicing it. This is where I'm introducing a wait statement to you. This is a statement I'm using through VB scripting, making it to QTP. Alright team. Now the next thing is I will take the same wait statement and copy it after we enter income as well. And I'm going to copy it and enter here as well. Here I'll say wait for 3 seconds. And finally, let's wait for 2 seconds before we end the test. So what did we do, team? We entered a few comments and then we put our first statement called wait. The syntax is very simple. Write the word wait and 2. If I do a Control M on this, it won't get executed. Now I'll do Control Shift M. It will unmute it. Alright. Now having done this, let's try and hit the F5 key, which is a shortcut to your run. Now let's see what happens. It's going to open the application again. And it will perform each of these steps, but each time now it is not going that fast. It is going a little more slower. Alright. Now it has completed the test run. So I am giving specific instructions to QTP on how to move forward. Team, I don't want to do more than this in today's class. I just want to take it a little easy for you. And we will come and advance on this script tomorrow and we'll start working on CSL2. What is most important is the fact that we are able to teach QTP how it is working. But in the next 1, 2 or 3 classes, we will get to understanding how this code works that it is recorded and be able to write our own code accordingly. Alright team? At this time, I'm open to take any questions. What I request you to do is any questions which are not related with today's class, kindly for the best interest of everyone in the class to keep it for either an email or a telephonic conversation later. Most of your questions may be there already present as an answer in the FAQ or the training overview document or on the website, but I'll be glad to address only class related questions in whatever we did today. Any questions, team? You can raise your hand or send me a chat message. I'm going to unmute you at the time. Fabio, go ahead. Have you unmuted?
Yes, what's the sync line?
All right.
Down the bottom.
Sure. I have not gone to the step where I'm explaining each of these lines, but just to let you know what the sync line is doing is as soon as I hit a click, web button click, web button calculate in there, the sync line is giving an instruction to QTP to wait for the page to load before it moves on. Why? Because this is doing a certain operation in the backend. So you don't know how long that step might take. Your application, your web page can take half a second to do that calculation. If it's a complex thing, it can take even 15 seconds. So this sync statement is saying wait here on line 19 till this whole page loads before we move on. And I will go through each of these things as we go into the next class. There is a way that QTP is understanding and answering two questions. The first is where. Where should it do certain thing? And then what is it that it has to do? So these are the two most important things, the object and the method. What do I want to do? I want to do click. Where should I click? A link which is there in a page, which is there in a browser. That is how QTP understands. Here I'm saying sync. Where am I doing this? On the page, on the browser. What does this sync do? The sync will basically ask your browser to wait for a certain amount of time. Alright, Fabio?
Alright, thank you very much.
Sure. Arvind, go ahead please. Arvind?
Yeah, hi. I actually, I have Windows 7 in one of my machines.
Yeah.
I tried connecting for like 10 minutes in the beginning. I lost the first 10 to 12 minutes or something.
Okay.
Is there any way just you can, quickly summarize, I don't want the exact things, but
Sure.
whatever,
Sure. I will.
Is installing, is getting GoToMeeting working in Windows 7 a relevant question for this class, or should I see the FAQ or something?
Right. It could be an offline question. There is also a customer support from GoToTraining which may help us in that. But just to let you know, I will give a quick summary. But more importantly, I will send the video link to everyone once I upload it so that you can all watch what happened. But just to give a quick summary, I showed the functionality of ChaseStudentLoans.com. What is it that we can do? All that we did is open that application. We clicked on the budget calculator link, we entered some expenses which students would do, some earnings that they would have, and then clicked on calculate button, and that application is returning results of how much loan they require. So I am saying now I would like to teach these steps instead of doing it manually to an automation system like QTP, and we started with our first step of recording, and once we completed record and save the test, we are able to click on run, select temporary run results, and execute that simple run. When we did the run, we saw QTP generated a line of code, and then we went about writing some comments to this, and then few more statements on wait. All right, Arvind. Just you can raise your hand again in case you have another question. Sergi, go ahead, please.
Yeah, hi. I have a window Vista. I try recording and just like.
All right. Sorry to cut you there, Sergi. The instructions for Windows Vista, Windows 7 of how to make your QTP 10 or 11 work with it is something that I will handle offline. I have created help manuals on that, and I'll send it to all the participants who have confirmed after day 2. Alright, I understand this is an application which is designed to work specifically in a certain manner, but not necessary that every application every operating system it is behaving the same. So there are changes, there are differences to it. I will send you documents which are already created with steps to do that. All right. Mohammed, go ahead, please.
Actually, how are you? I think the previous gentleman asked you the question already, but I wanted to know that one of my friends told me that the QTP works on XP the best. So would you really recommend us to go and open an XP machine rather than Windows Vista or 7?
All right. So okay, again, something which is not relevant to the class, but I'll quickly answer it. I still use XP because I'm still using XP. But a lot of people are using Windows 7 these days, and some of them also with Windows Vista. And all the participants, and there are over 500, 600 people that interact on the training level every year, and most of them are using Windows 7, so it works fine. They're just setting changes that you need to do. That's okay. A few features might be different, but it's okay. You don't need to change the entire operating system just to make QTP work. In case you're getting an access to Windows XP, fair enough. Otherwise, also do not worry about it. All right. Sure, you're welcome. Can we also use QTP to automate mainframe online applications? Yes, but I'm not covering as part of the course content. You will see the help in the Google group once you get registered on that. All right, Vishwa. Ramesh, okay. You told sync statement is to wait, but what is the use of wait statement? What is the difference? Okay, very simple, which I'll come to it later at length, but wait is saying that I want to wait for 2 seconds or I want to wait for 3 seconds. Sync is saying that I want to wait for the page to load. It can be half a second, it can be microsecond, or it can be even 15-20 seconds. That is the difference. If you don't know how long a page will take to get loaded, that is when you need a sync statement. If you want to specifically ask QTP to wait a certain amount of time, that's when we use wait statement. But why should the sync statement be needed? Will something happen if not? Yes, there will be something that may happen if not. And you get errors, and as we get errors, it is our duty to understand them and go ahead and solve them. All right. Okay, let's see. I'm wondering whether you would provide QTP software for us to try it home. Yeah. So the instructions of how to download and install QTP will also be sent as part of that welcome package after day 2, and I will be doing that. Document which helps us to run QTP on Vista. Yes, I will send that. Will learning 10, 11 help me to adapt it with version 9.2? That doesn't matter. If you're learning version 10, you're learning whatever is there on 9.2, 9.5 and above. I would suggest go with at least 10 version because there's already version 11. You'll be too outdated in the market otherwise. Can we run only a part of the script by highlighting? Not by highlighting, but you can just uncomment whatever you don't want, or you can ask the test to run it from a specific point. Okay. Recommend check record classes which covers basics and then attend. No, these are the basic classes. Okay, this is the start of basic classes. After almost 3 or 4 classes, I will tell you which pre-record sessions to watch, like the basics on functions, on how to read and write from Excel using your VB script and so on, before we go into the next classes, which will be around the data-driven framework. Okay, so I will guide you as in the order in which you should watch. What do you suggest recorded live? Offline, please. It is all dependent on your things. The reason is very simple. You will not see too many questions coming up during the class. It could be just, can you repeat that specific thing, or some statements which I may miss. More importantly, you'll get questions when you're practicing, and that's where the Google group will help you. Why did QTP not display the results of the test? Okay, a good question. The reason is I have selected it not to display at the end of it. Okay, so that's something in the tool setting you would see being mentioned. Okay, in my options I can say exactly, sorry about the background noise, that after the run is done, I have unchecked this where I say view results when run session ends. Alright, so that option I have unselected. Fully evaluated by HP. Not sure, Swapna, of your question. Office works on 9.2. Not sure. I don't support 9.2 by myself. Do you have any VB script books before next session? There are a lot of books in the Google group. E-books, tutorials, so many other content, plenty of information. But unfortunately, the Google group access is given to all the confirmed participants. Could you explain syntax error again? Yes, I will start tomorrow's session and I want to show you exactly how it happens. Syntax error is basically that QTP does not understand what you wrote here. If I'm writing a pure English and I'm trying to save this, QTP is saying, what is this line 3? What do you want me to do with it? Can you correct it? And whenever it doesn't understand a piece of code, it will show that to you. So you got to correct it. If it is a comment, I do Control M saying that this is English. Don't worry about it. Just ignore it. Download trial version. Yes, download trial version. Okay. After saying the test is created one folder. Don't mind. You can explain about the use of files in the folder. Yes. Tomorrow when I start, I will open up with the folder and continue from there. Arvind, offline. Jasmeet, license thing offline. It is there, part of the Google group. Stravanti, that's something different. I don't want to address anything with licenses and all that out here. You might find the solutions from group of what they do or how best they utilize that 30 days out there. Anurag, go ahead please.
Do we get the recordings for each and every class?
Sorry Anurag, again it's an offline question please. Yes, please go through the website, go through all the options. Depending on what option you choose, you will get what you have subscribed for. Alright, so I will be hosting the recordings, but access will be given in case you are requesting for it. Okay. Not to interrupt, not to mean rude about it, just the fact that I don't want there's so many participants in the training. I want to answer relevant questions for our session that we had in the day. Whatever else, we will answer it offline please. Alright team, thank you so much for attending day 1. We'll see you back in day 2. It is the same link which you'll use for every day to the rest of the continuation of the sessions. Alright. Thank you everyone. Take care then. Bye now. We'll see you back tomorrow. Take care everyone. Bye then. Thank you. Bye.